Welcome to Rustle Up Something Rustic and happy Valentine's Day. Today we're going to cook again at the beginning, and then we'll move into the Rustic Rugs part, and I'm going to show you a simple little pillow you can make for a Valentine gift. When you think about Valentine's Day, we usually think about chocolate, but this particular dessert I like to serve at Valentine's Day just because it's pretty and it's cherries, which I love. This is an old recipe that I got from a friend years ago. I don't even remember which friend it was, but it's one that's one of our favorites. So, in order to make this pie, you need a 9 or 10-inch pie plate, like this. You also need a 9 by 13 pan, like this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you, I've already made the crust, but I'm going to talk you through how I did it. In a mixing bowl, you take 1 cup of flour. Well, first you melt a half a cup of butter in your mixing bowl. Then you mix in a cup of flour and 1/4 of a cup of brown sugar. You also can add walnuts if you like it. Our son's allergic to nuts, and I never know who is or who isn't, so I just leave the nuts out. So you can add those. After you get those into your baking dish, you put it into a greased 9 by 13 baking dish, pat it down, put it in the oven, and it needs to bake at 350 for about 15 to 20 minutes. What you need to do though is halfway through, pull it out of the oven and stir it. Now after it's baked for the 20 minutes, this is what it's going to look like. It's kind of ugly in this pan, but this is what it's going to look like. Now you let it cool completely, so it's going to kind of stick to the bottom of the pan. So you just take a spatula and just kind of break it up. It's kind of a cookie type crust that is delicious in this pie. So after you get it kind of loosened up, just take your hands and crumble it up. This, after you get this crumbled up, you want to save about a half a cup or a handful, about like that, of crust, and that's going to be our topping. We'll crumble that up better later. I'm just going to crumble this up a little bit more. And you don't really need to grease your pan because you're not going to bake anything. This is also a great dessert to serve in the summer, because you do have to use your oven for about 15 minutes, but then it's a nice, cool, light dessert. So with the rest of this crust, I'm just going to put it in this pan. And we're just going to press it out. And then just to help it stay in place when you put the rest of your toppings on, I usually freeze this for about 10 minutes. So I'm going to stick it in the oven, or stick it in the freezer. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I'm going to go ahead and crumble the rest of this up so it's ready to go. Now, for the filling, this is sort of like a cream cheese frosting filling. Not quite as sweet, but in my mixing bowl, I have 8 ounces of cream cheese that has been softened. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of get that going here. And to this, I'm going to add 1 cup of powdered sugar. And I'm just going to add it slowly. And I'll tell you, when you're mixing it, it's going to look like it's too dry and it's not going to mix. But don't give up on it, because it will. It'll all mix together. And then to that, I'm adding a half a teaspoon of almond extract. Now once you get the sugar kind of incorporated in here, you can go ahead and turn up your mixer and just get it so it's pretty soft. Shut it off once and scrape down the sides. It's sometimes and you can use a hand mixer too. You don't have to have a stand mixer. But sometimes that stuff gets kind of stuck on the bottom and doesn't get mixed up real well. So mix it up again. that's good. So that's your filling of the pie. And then for the topping of the pie, you need, the recipe calls for 1 cup of whipped cream. But I love whipped cream, and so I think if it's a little bit more the better. But what I did was, this was about 3/4 cup of heavy cream that I whipped in my mixer. And what I found is with whipped cream, whatever, like if it's a 1/2 cup or a 3/4 cup of just the cream, then you whip it, you're going to end up with about 1.5 cups, or double. You're going to double whatever you've started out with cream. If that makes sense. My math is not great. So to this whipped cream, I'm adding 1 can of cherry pie filling. Don't get pie cherries, get cherry pie filling. And I just mix that in. And you can mix it however you want. You can mix it so that it's kind of streaky, if you like that look, or you can mix it till it's just pretty solid. I kind of like it looking a little streaky, especially for Valentine's Day, because then you have the white and the red. All right, let's get rid of this. Now I know it hasn't been 10 minutes, but we're going to try this crust and see how it works. You really don't even, the freezing of the crust just helps it firm up, and it makes it a little bit easier to spread this filling on it. Start out with our cream cheese filling first. I know if I were in a professional kitchen, they'd yell at me for beating. I hear that that's a big no-no in professional cooking, but I'm not a professional, so I do it. But this, I'm just going to plop down on here. And see, because I didn't freeze it long enough, my crust is going to kind of move, but you know what? It's not going to make any difference to the end result. It's all going to taste delicious and it'll look just fine, because you're going to cover it all up with the whipped cream anyway. And I'm just going to kind of spread it around here as best I can. You can use your fingers. And just kind of get it so that it's in the center. And if some of the crust comes up, but if you've frozen this crust for 10 minutes, you're not going to have this problem. But that's pretty good. That's pretty spread out through the whole dessert, and you'll see the magic is going to happen, because it's going to all get covered up and nobody will know anyway. So with this just gets piled on top. Just kind of even it out. And that's it. And then on top of that, you add these crumbs that you have left. And then it says you should chill it for 1 to 2 hours. And if you do chill it, it's better, because that makes the pieces come out a little bit solid. But if you don't care how they look when you pull them out, you can go ahead and eat it now. So that's it. Sweet charity pie. Happy Valentine's Day. Follow us, and we're going to go into the rug hooking room, and I'm going to show you a simple Valentine project. Welcome back. Happy Valentine's Day again. I'm going to show you how to make this. It's a pretty simple project. Now keep in mind that I am a rug hooker, I am not a quilter, and I'm not a seamstress. So my sewing directions are going to be very basic. But a lot of people don't realize that you can actually hook right into a piece of wool, which is what I've done here. So all you need to do is draw your motif on your wool. I just used a black Sharpie marker. If you're using dark wool like a black or a navy and the black Sharpie won't show up, you can use a silver Sharpie marker. The one thing you need to really remember when you're hooking into wool, you have got to hook on the line that you've drawn to cover it up. So all you do is just put it onto your frame, just like you would your regular backing, and get it nice and tight. The other thing you need is I use this pencil grip. I like this unless I'm doing a real wide cut, and then I use my ball grip. But this is nice because it's got a real sharp point, but you need a hook that has a graduated shaft. In other words, the shaft starts thin at the top and gets bigger at the bottom, because that's going to make you a nice big hole. And then to hook into the wool, all you do is you just go, just like you do your regular hooking, just go right on the line, pull up your loops, and I go ahead and pull all my tails to the top, just because then when I'm hooking, they're not in the way. I used to leave some of the tails inside, but then they were in my way for hooking. So that's what you have. And then you just go ahead and outline and then fill just like you would in regular hooking. So the wool that I used is this wonderful plaid. And I cut the black strips and then the red strips. And this was the design. You can do it any way you want. You can fill it with different reds. You can do it any way you want to do it. You can put some white in there. The other thing I wanted to show you is behind me I have a hand-torn rug that is done with this same wool. And one of these little videos, I am going to demonstrate hand-torn, how to do a hand-torn rug, but not today. So let's pretend that I've hooked this whole situation. Just pretend like this heart is all hooked. What you're going to do is remember your old home ec days. Right sides together when you sew. Oh, first, before you sew it, you want to press it. Press it on the front and the backs. I use a steam cloth or a towel just that's damp, and just press it. Don't iron it, just press it and let it dry. After that, right sides together, and you're going to sew. You don't have to sew this top. And that's one other thing I was going to mention. I usually try and do a pillow on a fat quarter, because then what you have is you can do your motif on one end, and then you have the backing. So it's all here together for you. So we're putting right sides together, and then I use about quarter inch to a half-inch seam allowance, and you need to leave a gap in the bottom, and then just sew up this side and sew up this side. Pretend like this is red, but this is my sample here. So you can see my brown sewing, and I've left a gap here to turn. So, this probably is about a quarter of an inch. So then after you get that sewn, then you just turn it. And it'll be a little bit stiff with that rug hooking. But you turn it so that it's your right sides are to the outside, and you get a piece like this. And after you get it all turned and nicely put something in there so you get all the corners poked out, press it again. And I've left my hole somewhere right here, because you need a hole to stuff your pillow. So you've turned it, pressed it. Now you're ready to top stitch it. And what I did was you leave your hole, top stitch it, around at about 1/4 of an inch, leaving your hole. Now once you've got it top stitched, you're ready to whip it, which is this right here. So what I do is pretend like this is my hooked side. So I put the hooked side toward me. This is the way it's easiest for me. It may be, if you're left-handed or do things differently, it may be a different way you want to hold it. But you need a big needle. This is just a craft needle. I can't even remember where I got it, but it has a big eye. You thread it up with one of your pieces of cut wool. On this one, obviously, I used the red, but for purposes of this, so it'll show, I'm using black. You go into where you've left your gap to stuff, and just pull it through. Now this is my hooked side. Pull it through, and this particular piece of wool, this isn't even wool that I'm using, so it's harder to pull through. Wool is easier to pull through, but just leave your tail inside because it'll get buried. Then you just wrap it around, come up, and you can do this as close as you want to or as far apart as you want to. And I knew I'd struggle with getting this through, but it's coming. There we come. Now you want to make sure you don't get it twisted in here. See, that's flat. Now to go around the corner, you just continue on. And I'm going through the back and into the front and pull it through. Don't twist it. I'll do one more. Lay it across the back. You want to make sure, as much as you can, that all of these holes are kind of the same distance down from the seam. And again, they can be closer, they could probably be farther apart. But that's basically how you whip it, and you just go around the whole thing. Now, you've got the whole thing whipped. What you're going to do is, I just use fiberfill and just start stuffing it in there. And you can make it as full, or if you want it to lay a little flatter, you don't have to do it real full. Just stuff it. Then, after you've got it stuffed to wherever you want it, I put it back on my sewing machine and sew this gap up. You can, and that can be a little bit tricky. If that's a problem for you, you can just hand stitch across here. But you want to close that gap. Once you get the gap closed, then you just continue your whipping, and you won't ever show. And always end, when you end this piece of wool with your whipping, you can just leave that tail inside and just bury it because it won't show. So that's basically a simple technique to make a quick and simple pillow for all those people that say, oh, can make me a rug sometime. No, I'm not going to make you a rug, but I'll make you a pillow. So I hope this year you'll come and visit us sometime. We have tons of wool, we have patterns, we have hook-ins the first and the third Saturdays of the month. We're going to have some wonderful classes that we're in the process of getting scheduled. So you're always welcome to come. I hope you have a very happy Valentine's Day. I want to leave you with the same 3 thoughts. You're always welcome. There are no bad ideas, and you're always welcome to color outside the lines. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you'll come and visit us sometime.